Hi, it's Ivy Slater. Welcome to today's episode of Slater Success Live. I am talking with two amazing young women today. And I know some of us all chuckle as we call ourselves young women. But I have the founder and the executive director of Powerful Progress, which is a nonprofit advisory board. They connect nonprofit executives, presidents, vice presidents, and those of that ilk with the talent advice needed to further expand their current work through collaborative networking. And for those of you who are just joining us in the nonprofit series here on Slater Success Live, as well as on our podcast, Her Success Story, from Thanksgiving through New Year's, and then a little bit extra this time, we highlight various different nonprofits that are making a difference in the world. So I was truly excited to bring Powerful Progress to our show today to talk about their work that they're doing in communities with other nonprofits and how they're making this difference. So join me, Yolanda Palmer, who's the executive director, and Priya Royal, one of the founder. Ladies, thank you for taking the time out of, I know, very busy days to join us here on Slater Success Live.
Thank you so much,
Ivy.
So, Priya, I want to start with you. So you're the founder of this organization. Where did the idea spark from? Where did it come from? What generated you to do this? What sparked you to do it?
So you are correct. It was my idea, but in all due respect to my wonderful friend and my prime motivator, Pawnee Davis, we are co-founders, another dynamic minority woman attorney. So the backstory is I'm a tax attorney. I have worked my entire career of over about 16 years between the IRS and private practice with the wealthy. And we all know what the wealthy look like. It's not the people on this call. So I sort of developed a very high level and an intricate understanding of sophisticated wealth planning. I sort of understood how wealth communities build wealth, transfer wealth, build legacies of wealth, have businesses, have everything. And the one thing I constantly noticed is that locked out communities, whether we are women, whether we are from rural communities, whether we are minority groups, LGBTQ, immigrants, anything, we don't have access to the same resources. We don't know what we don't know. And
I think that's well said. We don't know what we don't know, and we don't know how to access what we don't know.
Exactly. And that was the inception. And Pawnee is a Black woman attorney, also held very senior level positions in the government, and had, we both had the advantage of being among the privileged, but we also understood what most of our communities don't have. So we wanted to bridge that gap. And there are many attorneys, financial professionals, experts in the field who want to change the world and do something and share our information, but we don't know how we could do anything because, frankly, I don't think anybody wants to listen to me talk the tax code right now. So with that came in, we brought together a board of all these experts, and we were visionaries. We want to share information, we want to educate. And that first part of what you mentioned, Ivy, with the nonprofit advisory board, that's a part that is within my comprehension. But now where do we go from here? And that's where we as a board decided to hire Yolanda Palmer, who comes in with over 22 years of nonprofit experience, where she takes things in our head, people like me, and translates that into actual work. So, if this works for you, then I would like to pass the baton to Yolanda.
So I'm going to jump in here. Yeah. And viewers, as you're scrolling through LinkedIn and you land on this video, a couple of things. Here's some actions you should be doing. Number one, if you hear something that resonates with you, makes an impact with you, please put that in the notes, right? Put that in the links below. Let us hear what is resonating with you. Number two is you have a question for Yolanda or Priya. You have a nonprofit. You're involved in a nonprofit. You always wanted to get involved in something. These are the ladies to jump in and ask. While we're doing this series, you have access. So use it. Also, as if you missed this show live, do not fret, do not panic. Put your comments, your questions below. Yolanda, Priya, and I will continue to jump in and follow this stream. So we are here for you. These resources are here for you. So Yolanda, you stepped into executive director. You come with a strong background in nonprofits into an organization that every time in the various conversations you and I have had, when I've tried to understand, I was like, okay, does Powerful Progress do this? Yes. Okay. So Powerful Progress doesn't do this. No, we do that too. Well, it's you guys make such an impact. So give like the overall what the organization is looking like today. And then I also want to talk about some of the initiatives that's going on.
Okay, so thank you again for having me. So here we are. This is Powerful Progress. And our goal is really and truly very simple: to give the keys to locked out communities. If you imagine a locked door is in front of someone, right? At certain parts of our life, our journey, we encounter a locked door. If you're a woman, it could be career. You can't quite break the glass ceiling. If you're from a certain community of that has been disproportionately affected, it could be not having an education. That could be your locked door. You may find yourself becoming elderly and for the first time ever encountering a locked door. So really, we are the creators and cutters of the key for someone who is locked out to gain some access. So that is why it seems like, wow, we just kind of do everything. So to address the wealth gap, we have to be flexible, because the reason for the wealth gap for one person could be completely different for why it's a wealth gap issue for another person. If you're in college, you're already privileged, right? But you may not have the networks because you come from a historically disadvantaged community. If you don't even have your GED, right, you have a completely different set of barriers. And so the work we do is, again, creating the key. So by working with nonprofits, we can help them, whether it's with the initiative they already have in-house. We can help them by giving them sound advice and programming. With the fact that we have, for instance, financial advisors from some of the wealthiest, largest corporations, we can teach real financial planning. We can give an intern an opportunity with some of the largest wealth companies that normally they would never have access to. And so that is just some of how, again, we put the keys in people's hands.
And it's interesting because, as I do a lot of teaching and training over the years in various groups, organizations, associations, companies, etc., adage, a cliche is your network is your net worth, right?
Correct.
Yet if we don't have much of a network, B, don't know we have a network, so don't know, right? We really don't know what the value of our network is, because we all have one. We just don't always know how to use it or access it, no matter where you are, because sometimes you have to be bold to access that network.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Interesting. So Andrea Jackson is jumping in, and she's asking, what are 3 to 5 things nonprofits should do or should have in place?
Ooh.
Who's going first, Yolanda?
I think I'm going to let the compliance nerd.
Right. One of the amazing things, so I'm going to share a little bit, because sometimes my guests don't boast about themselves. Yolanda and I were talking, and something came up about, it's so important for nonprofits to understand compliance. And I said, well, having, working with an enormous amount of attorneys, I actually leaned into just our chat and say, goodness, I see why Priya, as a founder and a leader of the board, is so important, because Priya, you get what does compliance mean for a nonprofit, and how wishy-washy if you don't understand what you need to know is about.
So there are 2 types of people who get into nonprofits. One is people with a lot of money who want to change the world or save on taxes. The second is the people with a good heart who want to change the world but have absolutely no idea they need a foundation or structure. So the thing that always, as far as in the United States we're concerned, the part that is missed on nonprofits is that a lot of people will go to a corporate attorney or look at the corporate bylaws and create an organization. I need an organization. The main focus and the only thing that governs every nonprofit is tax law. The entire governance is on the tax code. So all the other documents and everything, they have to be in compliance with what the IRS considers to be tax exempt. So here comes the tax. That's why Yolanda was sort of pointing out, I'll ask the compliance nerd because I'm a tax nerd. So the nonprofits flow through correctly and do charitable planning. So for three things is the first is one of these is Yolanda's specialty. One is tax compliance to make sure that it is completely in compliance with the code. A lot of people have heard the term 501c3 and they think it is a fun acronym. It is Section 501, subsection C3 of Title 26 of the Internal Revenue Code.
Right.
That is
so
a
it's not the title that a nonprofit has to get. It actually has a deep meaning and a deep way, if you don't follow the meaning, of setting up some major obstacles and headaches in your area.
Yes. So if you start with that, that is not an acronym. That is not a made up number. This is not like 50 Cent's name. This is literally the tax code. Then you start saying, wait, the whole organization is defined under the tax code. Obviously, there are other types of organizations. We're not going into that. So for the top three things is, one is if you want to be a 501c3 or C4 or any of the various Cs, because if you're a golf club, it's a different type of nonprofit. Get a tax lawyer, go through the tax code, get an accountant, keep the financial records absolutely clear, no commingling. You track every penny, everything. And there are so many rules, like putting family members on the board. You all believe in the same thing. That can be a conflict. You have to have very strong conflict of interest policies. And then the policies and procedures that about governing and the HR that does not look completely like a corporate entity. So, on the other end, my law firm, we actually do this where the corporate attorney will draft the bylaws and policies and everything, and the tax attorney goes in and makes it comply with the IRS code. So
what I'm hearing as the layman, and Andrea is coming back with it. She goes, compliance is my superpower. Go, Andrea. I love that. What I'm hearing, though, is every person who is involved in any kind of nonprofit, you want to surround yourself with a strong professional group. So you want a accountant, a CPA who understands nonprofits. You want an attorney that understands nonprofits and structure. If you're your HR, as you grow, you want them to have nonprofit knowledge. Yolanda, what do you see that needs to be added?
Aside from the obvious compliance, which again is so crucial, I think an understanding of the community you serve, right? Again, so going back to those two subgroups that create a nonprofit, oftentimes there is an expectation that there will be direct impact, but we're still unable to really reach those communities that are severely affected. So I would say get your needs assessment, right? I think in order to run a great nonprofit, you must thoroughly understand the problem. You must become an expert in the problem, and you must create the network that can help you to solve it. Your purpose is interconnected, right? You need to be able to network with other nonprofits and not see yourself as a competing force, but rather as a community force.
It's interesting because this is the first year and the fourth year. In the 4 years we've been doing the nonprofit series, this is the first year that several of our interviews, the different nonprofits, have come out and said how important it is to be collaborating with other nonprofits. And I don't think that's talked about often enough, because in the 4 years that I've been doing this series, this is the first year it's been said. So let's look at that. What are the results? What do you see when you collaborate with other nonprofits? What are the results that some of them are achieving?
So just to again talk about the power of collaboration. Again, none of us can solve an entire problem, right? So let's say that there's a problem in a certain school. Well, it's the people in the community who send their children to that school. So solving this neighborhood's problem, one nonprofit can be focused on education, and the other nonprofit should be focused on parent education. And there could be another nonprofit that's focused on book drives or creating community drives. Let's say that community is located in a food desert. Well, maybe buying a local plot of land and creating a little sustainable urban garden is how you solve food insecurity in that neighborhood. And boom, you have just been 3 or 4 different nonprofits, all dedicated to solving one problem.
I so appreciate that. And that's a beautiful visual, because it's something I could think about of when my kids were back in the day when they were in school. You had this group that organized the bake sale to accomplish this. You had this group that organized selling gift wrap during the holidays to raise funds for this. And we all wanted to work together for the greater good of the organization.
So one thing I will say is, if you're an executive director, part of what has made me successful at what I do is I don't mind shaking hands. I don't mind when it was street outreach in the Bronx. I don't mind walking, actually getting to know the community. I don't mind sitting at the local pizza shop and getting to know the locals and seeing what kids are really saying if I'm working with youth at that time. So again, I think that getting to know the locals, getting to know the other people who are doing the change work and seeing their perspective, their viewpoints, their vantage point. Writing grants, yes, absolutely. We don't even have to talk about it. We know we're going to have to write a grant. We know we're going to have to put out, check out the latest RFP that comes in. But we need to know the actual problem so that when we get the grant, because I've seen nonprofits get the grant and not have understood the community they were entering because they were strangers in that community before they decided to work there. So I do believe, again, making sure that you create that advisory committee full of people who, again, are well versed in the area that you plan to serve. So
I think this makes an enormous amount of sense. And, there's that saying that goes, how important is to have boots on the ground, to actually be leaning in and listening to what's going on, and not just reading about it, not reading the reports about it, and creating a program based on the written information, the YouTube videos out there, and all the other information and content we have that comes at us so often these days. But to actually experience it, see it, hear it, watch it, hear it from here, our heart, and understand the pulse of what's going on in the community to create change and growth through the nonprofit work.
I wanted to add something to what Yolanda said. I agree with her entirely. And one of the things is knowing your limitations. So yes, going into the community and being the boots on the ground is a great idea. Yolanda knows the word of social work immensely. You can put me in a social work scenario and I wouldn't know what to do with that. I would come out obviously knowledgeable, but I don't know what to do with that. Okay. But what I'm getting at is the reason it is so important for nonprofits to collaborate, not only between each other so that they're not duplicating and therefore diminishing the actual impact they have by all doing it in silos. It is also necessary for them to collaborate with the communities they're looking to serve. Because as Yolanda said, the experts are in the community. It is not the nonprofit. It is not me. It's not Yolanda. It's none of us. It's actually the community we're looking to serve. So using the resources within the community to help the community from within by giving them resources, giving them access, giving them the education and the tools, and telling them, here, we're giving you this entire your entire grocery shopping list that you didn't even know you had is now covered. Now tell us, where do you want us to put it? Is basically how I look at the projects that we do and the initiatives that we have, whether we're working with entrepreneurs who don't have access and resources and they're the first generation trying to make it, or it is nonprofits, or it is just community leaders, or we're trying to become leaders and bring change.
So listeners and viewers, as you scroll through, please remember you can make a comment or you can ask a question. What is resonating in our conversation for you today? And what questions would you have for Yolanda and Priya at this time? So Powerful Progress you've said, is very much about creating solutions. One of your missions is about creating solutions. So as we are closing out 2021 and stepping into 2022, I can't help but ask, both of you ladies are change makers, you're leaders, you're women that lead with a vision. What are some of the initiatives? What are your plans? What are the initiatives? Where are you going in 2022? Yolanda?
Okay.
You're going with Yolanda.
All right.
That's you.
So We're
but
going to
we're
Jamaica.
organized with all our programs.
Listen, we're going to Jamaica.
Okay.
We're going to Jamaica,
But
we're going
what
to
is
India, and
so
we're
what
going
is
to the
Jamaica? Tell
farmlands
me
of
more,
America.
Yolanda.
Okay.
What's in Jamaica and why Jamaica?
Okay. So right now, one of our initiatives includes solving food scarcity, creating food sustainability. So during this pandemic, again, we have seen the lines, right, at food banks. We've seen here in America people for the first time who never thought they'd ever use a food bank needed it, and it put a real strain on the resources. When we had a shutdown, there was food that didn't get picked, right? So food that stayed in warehouses that didn't get distributed out. And that just showed us again, there is a problem in food. And as organized and wonderful as the United States is, countries abroad with even less resources are even more sensitive to the issues that we have here. So right now, we have an initiative, fellowship program, working with some boots on the ground in Jamaica to help create food sustainability. That project is again in collaboration with other local initiatives, other people who are doing the direct handwork. And we are here to again create food sustainability. So this current project is going to be about creating a way that food can be packaged in a way that it's not perishable or non-perishable or not as perishable as it currently is, and
Right.
also makes creating sustainable food models easier there. Now, this is our pilot program. We want to see how it does. We want to understand, again, it works in a tropical region. If it can work in a place like Jamaica with fewer resources, a smaller budget, we can bring it here to the United States. And we can also, again, put it in other areas that are experiencing things like drought, unsustainable practices. Sometimes, again, food technology. They're still using agricultural practices from I'm not sure what time period, but they're still literally using hand tools in some of these parts of the world. And so by equipping them with the right equipment, these farms can become jobs. These jobs can become, part of building up their communities. And so that we're very excited about this program. So yes, why Jamaica? Well, I happen to know a little bit more about Jamaica, and I happen to know someone who themselves started a soup kitchen in Jamaica. And in helping with creating that food sustainability in Jamaica and providing food in that community, we were able to see again what the need is.
Yeah, and that's a perfect add-on to the event that we have coming up on December 14th at 1 p.m. We are running a webinar. It is open to everyone. We want to keep it basic and go into the roots of these complex solutions. We're going to have food technologists, scientists, expert financial advisors, wealth advisors putting together a panel that on called Global Food Sustainability and Philanthropy. If you go to our website, powerfulprogress.org, you can register there. Thank you to Ivy Slater for inviting us. Special discount code for our listeners, Slater Success, all lowercase. And you can listen to what scientists can do with these small farmers and women farmers in places that need the sustainable and agricultural production. The UN Sustainability Initiative has indicated that actually improving agriculture and farming practices and providing food technology is 4 times more effective in eradicating global hunger than actually giving food. And then the other part of it is philanthropy. If you have nothing to do with food and you have nothing to do with farmers, if you are like me who doesn't know what to do when you're in the community and want to help, how can you help? Impact investing, charitable planning, how you create trust, private foundations, how do you do socially responsible investing, all of that in this jam-packed
So it's going to
3-hour
be wealth of information. So, and you'll see the links in the links below. Priya's going to put that in when we're off the live, so you guys can go back and take a look at it. But what I'm finding interesting, and which makes an enormous amount of sense, is here's a program that can have a big impact, but we are testing it in a small, controlled area, right? So, business is all about test marketing. right? We want to test, how can we do this? Is this sustainable? Does this work? What are our pitfalls? Where do we need improvements before we roll out the big rollouts of programs? So that makes an enormous amount of sense. Tara's jumping in with a question. She's asking, what has been one of your most favorite moments or stories in your work with Powerful Progress? Oh, ladies, who wants to take this one?
Should be you, Yolanda. I created
Yolanda,
it.
you
I
got
have
to
to
kick
do
us
it.
off here.
I think my favorite moment was when I realized just how much we could help a small nonprofit. Won't go into details, but we were able to save a nonprofit from a terrible outcome. And again, very amazing person with an amazing heart. They just filed some papers incorrectly, and it could have cost them everything. And so we were able to step in and help them. And that really touches my heart, because again, I think that going back to sometimes being a leader, when you are a leader, sometimes it's hard to know who you can open up to and trust, right? Sometimes you don't know what you're doing, and you need assistance, you need help, and you don't know where to go to get it. And so that person opened up to us, and they were able to really get some help.
You know what one thing that's resonating as I listen to you speak is, for me, and I'm speaking from my perspective, great leadership is surrounding yourself with people who know more than me. Okay. Slater Success has a great team. My name might be in the title. It has a great team with women and people and team members who are so smart in their areas. And I know what I know, and I don't know what I don't know. And I know when what I don't know when I reach out to my attorney, what I don't know when I reach out to my CPA, my CFO. What are the things I don't know, and what shouldn't I be answering in that until I get that professional. So what I'm hearing is Powerful Progress is a resource for every nonprofit to have in there, what I'll refer to, and I will date myself here, a good old-fashioned Rolodex or council of leaders to surround yourself with.
Absolutely. Because again, as we said, keeping your 501c is the number one goal of having it. That is the number one goal. The IRS even tells you that on the form. Like they don't your mission statement, all of that, they tell you keeping this is very important. So yes, who you surround yourself with is important. It is a predicator of success. But again, some smaller nonprofits, especially the ones that are mission focused and grassroots, they don't even know what a CFO is. Right? They don't have accountant. I didn't know I needed an accountant. What do you mean we have to file taxes? What do you mean? Like, they don't know. And a lot of the times the first board of directors or their first executive board is made up of people who just have the same passions as they do. They don't even realize, what do you mean we're not compliant? I didn't realize, they don't know what they don't know. And again, if it's a nonprofit that has been started by someone from a disadvantaged community, they don't even know basic business principles. You don't need to know anything about business to open a nonprofit.
And we also provide the strategy, because there are some simple solutions according to the IRS, like an easy version of the tax form, and if you do those forms, a lot of times nonprofits will prevent themselves from being able to get certain types of grants. And so they think that, we can do this simply, we don't have the money, but by not taking the more complicated route. So, we have the knowledge in-house that we're willing to share as a nonprofit on the strategic end of it too, to make sure that the nonprofit can grow and fulfill its mission.
I love that. Ladies, how can our viewers, our audience today and in the future, as they continue to see this and on LinkedIn, how can they find out more about Powerful Progress?
They can definitely visit the website, powerfulprogress.org. We are here to take questions. We also have a line of products. So most of the times, again, going back to that thought we've had about those who are from locked out communities, we actually have a subscription program. And in the subscription program, we offer access to, again, those same wealth managers and those same financial advisors, lawyers like Priya. And we offer it as a subscription service to entrepreneurs, small businesses, and startup nonprofits. And so again, if you are the owner of a hair salon, don't feel like you can't come to Powerful Progress. We might help you get your LLC corrected. and you might even be able to offer some good life insurance or health insurance to your staff. So again, we're bridging the gap with our networks and with their knowledge base.
And I love how Powerful Progress uses the key term as we create solutions. Priya, they're going to check out, our viewers are going to check out that webinar and see how we can access more information from leaders who are in the know in their sweet spots. We all know what we're good at. Reach out and build the community around you, especially in building your nonprofits, of leaders who can add to your knowledge and make sure your mission goes the long haul, and we can all continue to make a difference in this world. So, ladies, so Priya, Yolanda, thank you so much for joining me here today at the Slater Success Live.
Thank you so much.
So stay tuned. We are back. What I am going to say is next week, we are back with another Slater Success Live on Wednesday, the 15th at 5 p.m. So mark your calendars. We're continuing our nonprofit series. Also, remember to check us out on Her Success Story podcast for more nonprofits that might just spark your curiosity, float your boat, lean in to check out. We're all here to make a difference in the world. And so there's no wrong way to do it. Just what it takes is you showing up. I hope you have found value in our program today. Leave the notes of what your takeaways are. And most importantly, if you have a question, drop that into the chat, as well as what are you going to do with what you learned? Thank you for joining me here today. See you next week.